So now that the ice is melting outside and the summer is approaching, I decided to make this video just to explain some surprising facts about the seasonal changes in Finland and how they can really impact the quality and quantity of your immune system. So this is all about the circadian rhythm, which is nothing but a biological process that controls many physiological functions in our body, including even the rejuvenation of our immune cells. Yeah, so this rhythm is regulated by a small area of the hypothalamus in the middle of our brain. It controls our immune rejuvenation when we are sort of exposed to equal periods of light and dark during the 24-hour cycle. So the problem is that most of the time in Finland, we don't have equal periods of light and dark during the day. In the summer, for example, we have long daylight periods, and in the winter, it's virtually almost impossible to spot the sun. So the rejuvenation of new immune cells is negatively impacted, and people living in such conditions are more vulnerable to immune dysfunction, infection, and cancer. But I promise you that after this video, you will have been exposed to a deep understanding of some scientific concepts that will really help you to maintain your immunity through just simple strategic actions. So first, let's understand the science behind this issue. So during the night when we are sleeping, new immune cells are produced inside of our bones in a place that is called bone marrow. So the bone marrow is the place where new immune cells are born, and these cells actually, they need to leave from the bone marrow to drop in the bloodstream at some point, so they are distributed equally throughout the body. So the signal that opens the portals of the bone marrow so the immune cells are released into the bloodstream, this signal is actually the light. There's one specific area in the center of our brains, in the hypothalamus, that I previously mentioned, which is called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN. I would just say SCN to make it easier. So the SCN is our biological clock, which connects to our eyes with one hand, and with the other hand, it connects to our sympathetic nervous system, which is one part of the autonomous nervous system that controls the bone marrow. So when the light comes and stimulates the SCN, it in turn will stimulate the fibers of the sympathetic nervous system to release norepinephrine, which is a hormone inside of our bones. This norepinephrine is captured by the cells of the bone marrow through some receptors that are called adrenal receptors, or AR. And they release there a substance in response to the norepinephrine. They release a substance inside of the bone marrow called CXCL12, which is like a key. It's like a key that will open the portals of the bone marrow to unleash the new immune cells to drop in the bloodstream. So we need this norepinephrine first to activate the production of CXCL12. That is the key that will open the portals to unleash all the immune cells in the bloodstream. So this all happens when we are exposed to light, and the process will reach like a maximum peak around 5 hours from the initial light exposure. So around 11 a.m. in the morning is usually the time of the day that we get the highest levels of immune cells in the blood, and then they are distributed in our body during the afternoon. Turns out that when the dark period approaches, our SCN gradually stops stimulating the production of norepinephrine in the bone marrow, and the levels of CXCL12 will actually drop as well. So the portals of the bone marrow, they start closing, and there is no release of immune cells anymore. So this process of closing the bone marrow reaches the highest efficacy around 5 hours from the start of the dark period. It's usually around 11 p.m. in the night when we don't have any more release of immune cells in the bloodstream. So then the SCN, without exposure from light, it will start stimulating the pineal gland in our brains to produce melatonin. It's another hormone, which will give the signals to the bone marrow to start producing and reconstituting and producing new immune cells again during the night, the period that we are sleeping. So notice here the importance of preserving the light and dark cycle in your daily lives So you always open the doors of the bone marrow to unleash the immune cells, and also afterwards you close them. So you produce new immune cells inside of the bone marrow so they can be released the next day. So in Finland, nature takes the sunlight during the winter and replies with almost 24 hours of sunlight during the summer. That makes our SCN, our suprachiasmatic nucleus, completely confused. And in the dark season, it's more difficult to open the portals of the bone marrow to release these new immune cells in the bloodstream. So it is unbelievably amazing how in Finland the society evolved so that they acquired healthy cultural habits that mitigate this light deficiency induced by nature in the dark season. So during the winter, things go to the so-called AVANTO swimming in the frozen lakes before defrosting in a nearby sauna. They believe that the cold water gives you a boost of energy, which is even more powerful than just a can of Red Bull or a side of coffee. It actually floods their body with good endorphins, oxygen raises the heart rate, making them feel perky and focused and full of life. This is beautiful. So there's actually a recent scientific and medical research published in one of the most prestigious scientific journals that are called Proceedings of the National Academy of Science, or PNAS. And in this research, which was published by Mattins Cox, he is the first author, and his colleagues, they found that immersion in ice-cold waters increases the release of norepinephrine in the bloodstream. The same one that is released when we are exposed to light in the normal day cycle. So, as a consequence, there is a significant increase in the blood from these cells here, lymphocytes, monocytes, neutrophils. So there is an increase in these cells circulating in our bloodstream and distributing through the tissues. And these cells are actually the most important ones to fight any sort of infection. And in this paper, they actually saw that these subjects, they were more protected against bacterial infection. Isn't that amazing? So to mitigate the absence of light in the dark winter, that would result in lower levels of norepinephrine in your blood, in your bone marrow, and low immune cells that are released from the bone marrow, AVANTO can really give you the norepinephrine in the bone marrow to open its portals and to restore the levels of immune cells circulating in your tissues. And now, when the summer approaches, when you don't have the proper dark period to tell your suprachiasmatic nucleus to produce more melatonin, it doesn't make any harm to have some melatonin supply. And wearing a sleep mask to protect your eyes from the light, it can also make the difference to help you stimulating your bone marrow to produce lots of immune cells during the night time. And so in the next day, when you get exposed to light, you unleash the portals to release these cells in the bloodstream. So these are some important scientific tips based on science, proved science. Then I will bring more of this information in the next podcast that I will release soon. So don't forget to subscribe in our YouTube channel so you receive the notifications for the next episode. Thank you so much, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.